everyone, welcome to my channel. Today I would like to talk to you about Alfred Nobel, the Nobel Prize, and specifically the Nobel Prize in Literature. I am fascinated with women and women's writing, and so in this video series I will be talking about all of the women who were awarded the Nobel Prize in Literature. Today I would like to start with introducing you to the little-known figure of Alfred Nobel, and then talk about the Nobel Prize in general, how it started, when it started, and then narrow it down to the Nobel Prize in Literature, talk a little bit about who decides who gets it and how it is decided. Let's start with Alfred Nobel. He was born in 1833 in Stockholm, Sweden, and he was a very smart and talented young man. By the age of 17, he already spoke 5 languages and moved to Paris to study chemistry in the laboratory of a very well-known person at the time, whose name I currently forget. But yes, by 1862, he starts experimenting with nitroglycerin, and then in 1863 he gets his first patent on it. At the time it was called blasting oil. In 1866 he started thinking about and experimenting with stabilizing this explosive, because it was an incredibly volatile compound, and he figured out a way to do so. And this new invention of his he named dynamite, after the Greek word for power. Now that he had these explosives patented and they were being manufactured and sold, he moved around Europe and established multiple companies in multiple countries, and became a wealthy man. By the age of 40, he was a very successful entrepreneur. He lived in Paris for a while, and then in 1891 he moved to San Remo, Italy, where he spent his later years in life doing more experiments, I presume, and then also dabbling in writing. The Nobel Prize was established by his will, in which he stated that he would like his wealth to be invested and for the profits to go to inventors and artists who do great work, basically. He passed away on the 10th of December in 1896, and the first Nobel Prizes were awarded 5 years later in 1901. Let's talk a little bit about Nobel Prizes. I'm sure we all heard about them, but let's recap anyway. The foundation for Nobel Prizes was established after the death of Alfred Nobel, and after setting up the different institutions and sort of machine 5 years after his death, the first prizes were awarded. Topics were decided by the life of Alfred Nobel. They are awarded in the 5 categories of sciences and art that he personally was involved in throughout his lifetime, beginning with physics, chemistry, medicine, literature, and peace. In 1969, the Swedish Kronerbank, the Sveriges Bank, anyway, the Swedish bank added the Nobel Prize for Economic Sciences in memory of Alfred Nobel to this list of 5. So today we have 6 categories for Nobel Prizes. A Nobel Prize can be given to one person for their work. 2 or 3 people can share a Nobel Prize, or in particular for the Peace Prize, it can be awarded to groups and institutions as well. But the most common way to receive a Nobel Prize is as an individual. As it was established to reward the works of those who do the most for humankind in their respective fields. Alright, let's talk about the Nobel Prize in Literature. In order, the Nobel Prize in Literature comes fourth in the list of prizes in Alfred Nobel's will. And it was established because of Alfred Nobel's enthusiasm and participation in writing, in literature in his lifetime. Even as a young man, he wrote verse, and then later on in his life, he collected books in all the different languages he spoke and had an extensive library. And in the end of his life, he also wrote fiction. He wrote some novels which fascinate me. I just learned about them recently, and I would be interested to see what they are like. I don't think many people know about his aspirations as an author, and I would love to see if they are good works of art, or if they are just sort of one of many, nothing special. In his will, Alfred Nobel left the task of deciding who should be awarded the Nobel Prize in Literature to the Swedish Academy. The Swedish Academy consists of 18 members who are tenured for life. They are selected from Swedish literary scene. Many of them are authors, writers, some of them are linguists, historians, etc. That is the area that the Swedish Academy members are chosen from. The Swedish Academy then elects members of the Nobel Committee, who are the acting body of the Swedish Academy. They are the people who make the decisions on who should win the Nobel Prize in Literature in the 3 years that they are active, and then the members are elected again. So the Nobel Committee is a smaller group of people, and they are only appointed for 3 years at a time. Let's move on to how these people decide who should be the winner of the Nobel Prize in each given in the field of literature. In October of every year, there is a decision made on the Nobel laureate in literature. After the decision is announced, the sort of starting gun of the next year's process is also fired. At this time, letters and invitations are being sent out to all of those eligible to nominate people to the Nobel Prize. These people are selected by the Swedish Academy. They include former laureates and other influential people in the field of literature in different countries all around the world. These people have until January 31st to nominate an author they believe would deserve a Nobel Prize in Literature, and the Nobel Committee then works with this extensive list of names and narrows it down to about 15 to 20 people by April each year. From April to May, their job is to make the list smaller and find the 5 final candidates. In June, the Academy goes on summer break, and at that time, the Nobel Committee's members read the entire life's works of all of the 5 candidates. I am fascinated by this system. I would love to know how it works, especially with works that might or might not have translations to Swedish or English or other languages. I would love to know how they get their hands on the entire life's works of different authors, but that is for another time. I wonder if that is even information available to us. In any case, by the end of August, the Nobel Committee members have read all of the life's works of 5 final Nobel candidates, and in September they sit down and discuss and vote, and by the end of September they come to, or in October, come to a decision, and they give a phone call to the laureate, who is that year's Nobel Prize winner. And then in December of that year, there is an award ceremony, and the King of Sweden presents these people with their Nobel Prize, so the prize itself, and then of course the cash prize, which is not to be frowned upon. It is quite a large number. Currently it stands at 11 million Swedish kroners, which corresponds to approximately $1 million US. So apart from recognition, these authors are also awarded with quite a bit of cash. Since the establishment of the Nobel Prize in Literature, there has been 118 Nobel Prizes handed out to 122 people. 4 Nobel Prizes are shared between 2 people. I would love to encourage you to think for a moment here and try to estimate or guess how many of these 118 prizes were rewarded to women. Knowing the sort of biases that are in place, and knowing that it has been going on for 125 years right now. Of course, it's always running. Let me reveal the number now. Out of the 118 awards, 18 of them have been awarded to women. 9 of these prizes were given to women after the year 2000, and then 9 of them were given out in the previous 99 years of the prize. And this 18 corresponds to approximately 15% of the prizes. If we consider all 122 people who got a Nobel Prize, it is a little below 15%. If we don't consider them and we just look at the prizes, then it is exactly 15%. Which is, to me, quite a low number. I was hoping for something larger, more in the 30s at the very least. But it does also make it sort of a doable project, something that one can tackle and get around to doing in less than 5 years. If I were to decide to read all of a book from each of the Nobel laureates, 118 books would definitely be way too large of a project for me to embark upon. However, because there are only 18 of them, and because I am incredibly curious as to what in their writing is so special and so interesting and intriguing, that even though there are biases in place and the women have a harder time winning these prizes, they still got one in the end. So in this video series, what I'm going to do is I will read at least one book of each of these women, and I would like to introduce them to you and talk about their work, talk about my thoughts, discuss the rationale for their Nobel Prizes, and hopefully discover some beautiful art and rediscover some of the authors whose names now we are not so familiar with anymore. It also brings a great question to mind about the relevance of the Nobel Prize and the longevity of these prizes. In each year, the prize is awarded to someone who, in theory, does something incredibly unique, who has literary merit beyond everyone else in that category. So how is it then that a good number of these 18 women, their names I have never heard of? How is it then that some of them are forgotten and some other people we remember to this day who were never awarded this prize? And I think this is a really interesting prompt for us to think about prizes, Eurocentric ideas of literature, especially literature in English, and to interrogate if prizes are the way to go, or if there are better alternatives, if the Nobel Prize deserves the hype and the merit it gets. few people in Sweden should have the power to give so much recognition and hype to certain authors. I think it is all an incredibly fascinating topic, and I hope to discover some incredible authors and read great works of art. And I really hope that you will join me on this journey and that you will enjoy my thoughts and ideas on these various authors. In this series, I will be going in reverse chronological order, which means that in the next video, I will talk to you about Han Kang, the South Korean author who won the Nobel Prize for Literature in 2024, and then I will be moving on to Annie Ernaux, who won it in 2022, and so on and so forth. If you have any ideas or suggestions as to which works of these authors I should check out, please leave them in the comments. I would also love to hear about your country's Nobel laureates, if there are any women amongst them. There definitely aren't from my country. And I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please subscribe and like this video, and leave some nice comments with your ideas, suggestions and opinions on the Nobel Prize and this project that I am beginning with this one. I hope you have a wonderful day. See you next week. Bye!